FPUC becomes a great battleground next week as someone's going to the mat for you. Senator Ron Wyden to get $600 a week of FPUC. This is huge. No one has stepped up in the last few weeks to fight for $600 a week of FPUC. Under the third stimulus package, FPUC will be $400 a week. From March to August, in the first stimulus package, it was $600 a week from March to July. So will it work? And will the purple power, the followers of this channel, get behind him? You absolutely better believe it. Understand how to apply for FPUC, UI, and PUA in this throwback video. Explain how to get all those and FPUC retro. Enjoy this Overnight LA video explaining FPUC. FPUC heats up as a second stimulus package agreement is allegedly imminent. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons with LA Late. Hope your Saturday is going well. Great Saturday afternoon, and hope you're having a good one. This is Afternoons with LA Late, a 2-hour programming block that started with the check, went to hazard pay, and finishes off with rent assistance every Saturday at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. This one's about FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government, which expired, and now new indications overnight detail first on Mornings with LA Late earlier today that FPUC is likely to get extended under a alleged agreement for the second stimulus package. What's going on? Late yesterday, we detailed what's really been working behind the scenes, a lot of soap opera-ish, that the White House and the Democrats allegedly are brokering a deal to get the second stimulus package approved, and that approval would allegedly mirror the HEROES Act, which has $600 a week at FPUC. It comes after Friday, in which the president said that he supports $600 a week as a temporary fix, and slammed Nancy and Mitch, as he said, as he referred to them, for not giving $600 a week to the American citizens. What's going on, and what should you expect? First, I want you to understand what's important. And a viewer said, hey, make sure you tell these people this, and I forgot. This is very important. If you are on UI and you're on PUA already, do not stop certifying for benefits if you are impacted by COVID-19. Do not sit back and say, oh, I heard FPUC expired, so I'm not going to go to my state and certify for benefits. No, you need to still certify for benefits, because ultimately what could happen is when FPUC is reinstated, whatever adjective you want to use, reinstated, reactivated, extended, then it would likely pay those missing week or weeks of FPUC. So we're here on a Saturday afternoon. If your state's unemployment benefits week stops this week, it starts every Saturday, go to the state's website, sign into your portal, and certify for benefits for last week if you're on UI or PUA. Don't stop certifying, because not certifying if you're impacted by COVID-19 will disqualify you for those benefits if you wait too long. That's that. Now let's go to FPUC. $600 from the federal government expired several days ago, and the Republican bill, which we weren't quite clear who wrote it, was introduced on Monday. It came in at $200 a week for just the 4 weeks of August, and then after that it was a hot mess. More about that in a second. Well, apparently the White House was not behind the bill. Without going into the dramatics of it, because I did that on Mornings with LA today, the White House did not draft the bill. The White House did not introduce the bill. It was all the onus of Mitch McConnell, who came up with a series of very distasteful remarks about the American worker over the last 5 weeks. The White House distanced itself, and then the White House said, well, you know, we support less unemployment benefits, but we won't tell you the number. The reason why they wouldn't tell you the number was they were not on board with Mitch McConnell and his trashing of the American worker. Ultimately, when the stimulus package was introduced on Monday from the Republicans didn't support it. States that were Republican didn't support it. And citizens in those swing states, especially up for fall elections, were not supporting the stimulus package. Other Republicans like Mitt Romney and Marco Rubio quickly introduced other stimulus packages for Republicans. So everything started to domino. But ironically, the president never was really behind Mitch's drafting. So where are we right now? Allegedly, negotiations are underway to get the second stimulus package as written as the HEROES Act into law, to get it approved. And that those negotiations have moved very firmly and very fastly without the involvement of the bothering force, Mitch McConnell. Allegedly, the White House has dispatched his team, including Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, chief of staff, to get it done. That they've been negotiating around the clock with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to get it done. This comes after Friday and Thursday, where the president tweeted that he wanted the American citizens to have an extension of FPUC temporarily at $600 an hour, and that Nancy and Chuck were responsible for not extending it. Ultimately, the optics, I'm not going to go too much over in this video because I've done it before, but the optics are the president wants to give you $600 a week. The president understands that no one supports $200 a week. But the president is ultimately going to make it look like the Democrats didn't want to give him the $600 a week. And what I've fully said, and I'm going to say it again, is that Sunday morning is going to be a hot mess express, where you're going to hear broadcast news, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, have talking heads on from the Republicans and the Democrats and elected officials saying, no deal. No deal. That person's horrible. That person's horrible. No deal. Don't believe it. Turn it off. Go watch some golf or some Formula One racing or some MLB, because it's just really not the situation. They're just trash talking. So where are we? What and how did we get here? Which is a little bit disconcerting. 32 million Americans are without unemployment benefits of $600 a week this week. FPUC was set to expire because of ignorance or absurdity of this Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, to have FPUC expire while they were on vacation. FPUC is expiring at the time in which people need it more than ever before. 40% of American households are facing eviction. Nearly 50% of all renters in the United States are facing eviction. With that eviction looming and no moratorium in place in nearly 50% of U.S. states, they've had their unemployment benefits of $600 cut off just in the last week or 2 weeks, the time that they need the money more than ever. It's that financial cliff that everyone saw coming, and one key person really tried to act like it wasn't there and caused the problems we're at now. And that person is from Kentucky. His name is Mitch McConnell. If you don't recall, I'm going to tee you up with why FPUC became the problem it is now and how the president is really trying to fix it very quickly with the Democrats. The problems came from one person only, Mitch McConnell. Back when this channel first started on April 25th, and if you haven't liked and subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. Love to have you mornings and afternoons and evenings. When this channel first launched, I did the very first day in front of the beach with spiky hair, as someone said, I did an FPUC video or a PUA video. And I said, here, this is how you apply for it. And I know that you've been impacted by COVID-19. Here's some relief. Here's how you apply for it. Less than like a week after that came Mitch McConnell. And this is what he said. He said people are going on FPUC, or going on PUA and UI because they don't want to go back to work. When I heard it then, I thought, what's wrong with this guy? What do you mean they don't want to go back to work? They're intentionally staying at home because after months of staying at home during a pandemic, we want to stay more at home and stay in our house and be locked in our basement for the rest of the year. Okay. And at that time, I thought, okay, it was just one remark. Let's just forget about it and move on and let's stay positive. But the crazy man came back again. Yeah, I did call him crazy. He then said jobs are there and that people aren't going to their jobs. No, jobs were not there. Job creation had not existed. In fact, there was not a rebound as Mitch McConnell was portraying. At that time, we were starting the weeks of jobless claims, a number that comes out every Thursday. And if you've been with me for a few months, you know I report on it every Thursday. And it's basically the same story. You can put a cardboard cutout of me and put it here in front of this greenery and say, oh, there's that LA saying the same thing again. Yeah, it's the same thing. 1 million new jobless claims every Thursday. 19th consecutive week. The worst run since the Great Depression. 19 weeks of consecutive 1 million new jobless claims every week. Last week was 1.43. So there was Mitch saying that that there were jobs there and that people were not going to jobs. Mitch, did you not see the economic data? Then he said the economy was great and that PPP was working, that Americans were back to work, and that people were avoiding going back to work. The data became even worse. GDP numbers released overnight showed that 30% of GDP is gone. As of May, we were seeing that PPP was not working. Both the Congress, both the Republicans and Democrats gave a bailout to airlines, for example, of billions of dollars in the first stimulus package to retain workers. This is not even PPP money. This is airline money. Those airlines kept the money and laid off 10 to 20,000 employees right off the bat. The PPP employers, whether they're restaurants, which seem to always get a bailout from Mitch, took the PPP money, paid the employees for a few weeks, and then laid them off and never brought them back, terminated them. So his claim that the economy was great was also wrong. But then came the real disparaging remarks, which really had to have made the Trump administration cringe. Mitch McConnell said that Americans were staying at home because they don't want to work. Americans were staying at home and trying to get rich off of the federal government. Americans were staying home and trying to create a welfare state. None of those remarks are consistent with the Trump administration, which got elected by trying to champion the sentiments of the working class Americans, especially in Rust Belt states. The Trump administration has always vowed to support workers, whether it's laborized union workers, or it's auto, or it's airline, or it's defense. That's been the mantra. And here you have this other person, Mitch McConnell, calling people disparaging names. So when Mitch McConnell debuted his second stimulus package on last Monday, and there was a $200 check in there, well, what did everyone in the White House think? They had to have seen the numbers. The numbers showed that swing states that the Trump administration or Biden, both have to win in the fall, didn't support $200 a week. Every single swing state polled said they did not support $200 a week. Republicans did not support $200 a week. And then came the computer systems. Every state unemployment website said, we can't do these calculations. What is he talking about? The Steve Mnuchin proposal, which whether it was drafted by Mitch or drafted by Steve, was to pay you 70% of unemployment benefits of your 2019 earnings starting September 1st. It's what's in the HEALS Act. Well, states had been advising the Trump administration and Treasury for weeks, don't include that in the bill, we can't do it. 1, we don't have the computers to do it. 2, we can't do the calculation. 3, we don't have the financial data from our employees to do this. These were states that were both Republican and Democrats saying, don't do this, we can't do it. And guess what that guy from Kentucky did? He put it in there not paying attention. And then there's this. I have a lot of viewers from a lot of different states, and I've been helping them with FPUC since April 25th. So more than anyone else, I know where the problems were with PUA and UI benefits starting on April 25th. I heard people in the comments, which I would read on camera, I didn't get my benefits. The state did this, the state did that. Guess which state had the worst track record of giving unemployment benefits to its citizens in April, May, and June and July? You guessed it, Kentucky. The guy who didn't want to give you a penny now in the HEALS Act was in the state in which his system was working the worst. Wasn't even processing, $90, $80, $100 a week for UI or PUA benefits. Wasn't even processing the base level benefits. And then when it came to the $600 of FPUC, wasn't even sending that out for weeks, if not months. So here's this guy saying all these horrible things about the workers of America, when his own state wasn't even sending out the payments. It had to have read very poorly to the president. And so with that came the movements. Steve Mnuchin had said, we want to incentivize workers, we want to get them back, we want to get people back to work. And ultimately what happened was those jobs weren't there. And while you can say whatever you want to say, the president has never himself said that he didn't want to extend FPUC. Steve Mnuchin has never said a number for FPUC. He has talked about a reduction of FPUC. And the president has never said that he was not going to pay people their unemployment benefits. It was one guy, and one guy only, who didn't want to pay you the benefits. And that was Mitch McConnell. So as the situation got very bad last week, by the end of the week, and people were knocking their benefits, and broadcast news, whether it's ABC or CBS or Fox or CNN or anyone, they all were covering this subject and saying, hey, people don't have benefits. What are you going to do? You're not paying them benefits. What are you going to do? The Trump administration saw that. The Democrats saw that. And what did Nancy Pelosi say? She said, I'm not negotiating. I'm not moving on $600 a week. Why should I? That was actually a quote that she gave to press. I'm not negotiating. When you negotiate because you have to move on something. She said, I'm willing to go the mat for $600 a week. And that's what she did. And Mark Meadows, who allegedly is not very sophisticated in negotiating anything of any sort, said, fine. You know, she's holding us up for political means. No, she's holding you up for what's economically supportive. Finally, the most important thing, and, well, separate and apart from you getting the money you need to pay rent and pay utilities, is the economics of the situation. Every leading economist has said, for not days, but weeks, that you must overstimulate the economy. You cannot understimulate the economy. And so if you sit back and you think, I think, but I'm not sure, that if I give them $200 a week, that's enough, and that they can survive on $200 a week, and they can figure out where they're getting the rest of their money from. Economists, both Republicans and Democrats, said don't do that. Don't do that, because if you miscalculate it, you're going to not just cause financial calamity now, but the U.S. economy may not rebound for 3 years. It's that level of seriousness. They always point to unemployment and evictions as the key economic factors to create an enormous financial downturn. And ultimately, this is the great news. The great news is that the president has always understood that economic data, economic reports, the strength of the economy is what, in his mind, is going to get him reelected. And if economic data, whether it's jobless claims, a drop in GDP, an increased drop of consumer spending, an increased drop of consumer savings accounts, permeates across the country, as it did last week, he must understand that that is not something to go down a path on coming into a fall election. It's as simple as that. You want to save the American economy. You want to save people's jobs. You don't want them to be thrown on the street. And ultimately, the person to blame was one person, the guy from Kentucky. Coming up later today, rent assistance on Afternoons with LA Late, then evenings on LA Late. Boy, we have a great program for you as well on that. Thank you for tuning in this morning with Mornings at LA Late, always at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. If you are new to this channel, we have 3 blocks of programming: mornings, afternoons, and evenings. Mornings are 8:30, afternoons are about 2:30 Pacific Standard Time, and evenings are about 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay positive, and stay of LA for more.